Well, let's move on. Talking about the teacher-student bond. So another thing that I did this week was I asked my students, again, we're talking about teachers, and I had them reflect. I said, think back, okay? I want you to think back to who your favorite teacher was and why. So I think this is so valuable because when we think about the teacher-student bond, I think all of us has at least one teacher that we can think of off the top of our head. Oh yeah, such and such, Mr., Mrs., Doctor, whoever. We can think about all those different things if I was to ask you who your favorite teacher is or was. And there's always a why. Why were they your favorite teacher? Oh, well, this teacher, I can probably guarantee you that teacher knew your name or knew how to pronounce your name. That's probably one attribute. But for some people, that's not a big deal. Some people that is a big deal. You know, they gave me an Americanized nickname all year round. But this one teacher took the time to practice, say my name correctly. That really resonated with me. Or, you know what? I've been passed up. First grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. Every year I got passed up. No one ever challenged me. It wasn't until ninth grade that someone actually gave me an F because English wasn't my first language, but everybody else just passed me along. Oh yeah, they're doing their best. English is just not their first language, so we'll just pass. So no one else challenged me except for this one teacher. Maybe some of us have a story like that. Some reason they're your favorite teacher. Some of the students said, so based off of the feedback that I got my students this week, kind of boiled down to three different areas. One, students felt like, you know what, this is my favorite teacher because that teacher was more than just a teacher. Yes, we talk about reading, writing, and arithmetic. The value of academic support, the importance of getting those grades. Our educational system was built on results based off of the Industrial Revolution, and we still utilize that format to this day. But when we think about who our favorite teacher is, the bond that we had with those teachers, they were more than just a teacher. How many of us have been dad, mom, counselor, nurse, social worker, taught people how, man, I can tell you, I taught so many people how to tie their shoes when I taught second grade that one year. That was just that was for every 5 minutes. Kids were coming up to me, Mr. Eakins, can you tie my shoes? I taught kids how to ride bikes, how to fish. More than just a teacher. One of the things I have loved throughout my years in the classroom, throughout my years as an educator, is attending events outside of the classroom. Going to powwows, going to basketball games, championships, soccer games, all those different things to see my students in their element. Outside of walk quietly, close their door. You got 5 minutes to get to class, turning your assignments, do your homework. Outside of that world, but seeing them within their own, like going to church events, watching my students perform their musical instruments and their band, watching them sing in front of an auditorium of thousands, 12 years old. I remember when I first started doing public speaking, keynotes. That was tough as an adult with 100 people in my audience. And watching a kid, one of my students, sing their heart out in front of all these folks in their element, being able to witness that means so much. Not only that, me personally, but the kids can really appreciate that their teacher took the time to come out and support them. The next one, making challenging subjects become easy. Now, I've mentioned before, I struggled in math. I took geometry twice in high school. Man, I still don't understand. Hey, don't ask me no geometry questions. I can't help you. My daughter, she knows. My son as well. Look, man, I got y'all on history, English. I got you. Ask me anything. We'll figure it out. But you bring that math to me. I can vividly think of several math teachers. Actually, two. Let me just say two, not several. Two math teachers that had ninth grade that made math so like I don't know. It was like magical. It sung to me. There was a connection that, like, for someone who had struggled through math and struggled afterwards, I know for sure it was the teachers that made math the way it was for me that year. So not only was, of course, they obviously academics, but they're more than just teachers. And they're able to make challenging subjects become easy. The last one is these teachers are not afraid to do things differently. They challenge traditional styles of instruction and catered to individual needs first. Not the one size fits all, but the teachers that take the time that says, you know what? I recognize that if maybe you need a little bit extra time. Maybe let's go outside. Now, I went to a conference in San Diego earlier this year, back in March. Deeper Learning Conference, and I went to a session, and it was two indigenous session leaders, workshop host, and they said, we're going to do things differently. It's not a sit and get. This is not one of those sessions where, we're going to put you in small group. This is going to be different. We were in that room. We were in that space for like 5 minutes. And then they're like, all right, get your stuff. We're going outside. We went to an area within the park, and that was where we did our session. And it's very memorable for me because I experienced something outside of something I've never experienced in my life when it comes to a workshop presentation. And we talked about the value of utilizing nature in the classroom for instructional purposes, the value of understanding the earth and respecting the earth, and how it can relate to instructional practices that are outside of what the traditional instructional practices that we see a lot in our classroom. Now, that might be an example that not everybody has maybe looked into, or it might take some practice. But even if we look at it, scale it down a little bit and look at it from a smaller standpoint, are there things that we can do that are outside the norm that doesn't fit? Again, going back to the crayons, doesn't fit within those lines. But these little things, characteristics, high quality teachers that make you memorable.